At 4:30 a.m. local time, Ukrainian forces initiated one of the most complex and large-scale drone operations of the war to date. From a concealed launch site positioned near the settlement of Sumy, the first of 196 196 Ludy unmanned aerial vehicles began its launch sequence, roaring off its acceleration rail. The operational tempo was exceptionally high, with subsequent drones launching at a rate of 1 every 20 seconds. Simultaneously, in a meticulously coordinated effort, an additional 340 drones of the same type were launched from 3 other undisclosed locations. This brought the total number of deployed assets to 536, constituting the largest single coordinated drone swarm attack documented in modern military history. While the launch phase was executed with technical precision, the operation's success was immediately challenged. Unbeknownst to the Ukrainian drone crews, who were focused on maintaining their rapid launch schedule, Russian long-range early warning radar networks had detected the mass aerial launch signature. The detection data was processed and relayed almost instantaneously, triggering a high-priority counterstrike protocol. Within minutes, Russian strategic missile forces launched 4 9K720 Iskander M tactical ballistic missiles. These weapons, traveling at a hypersonic velocity of approximately Mach 5.9 and each armed with a 700-kilogram high-explosive warhead, were programmed with the launch site's suspected coordinates. With an estimated flight time of just 11 minutes from launch to impact, the Ukrainian crews on the ground had a critically narrow window, mere seconds for some, to deploy their remaining drones before the launch infrastructure was targeted for complete obliteration. It was at this moment that a key element of Ukrainian operational planning was tested: the decision to divide the swarm into 4 distinct, geographically separated forces. This decentralized approach was designed to ensure that a successful preemptive strike on 1 or even 2 launch locations would not cripple the entire operation, thereby guaranteeing that a significant portion of the swarm would proceed toward its objective. By 6 a.m., the first tangible results of this strategy became evident. The Northern Force, comprising the 95 surviving drones launched from the Sumy sector, crossed the international border into Russian airspace near the town of Suja. The flight plan for this element was the most challenging, requiring the longest route to the designated target area in order to circumvent the formidable air defense bubble created by Russian S-400 Triumph batteries stationed near Kursk. To mitigate the risk of detection, the drones immediately descended to a low operational altitude of 500 meters, initiating terrain masking flight protocols. The success of this phase hinged entirely on the capabilities of the onboard Skynode-S artificial intelligence navigation systems. Shortly after ingress, the drones' passive sensors detected emissions consistent with a 92N6E gravestone engagement and fire control radar, the primary sensor suite of the S-400 system, capable of tracking targets out to a range of 400 kilometers. Here, the physical design of the AN-196 proved critical. Its carbon fiber construction and specific aerodynamic profile produce a radar cross-section comparable to that of a large bird, making it exceedingly difficult for radar operators to distinguish from natural background clutter. Russian air defense crews struggled to acquire and maintain a stable lock on the low-flying targets. In a testament to this difficulty, the S-400 battery fired 2 48N6 series interceptor missiles at what were later assessed to be phantom radar returns or false electronic signatures. By 6:08 a.m., the Northern Force had successfully cleared the S-400's primary engagement zone. The group sustained an attrition of 12 drones, not from enemy fire, but from navigational errors and collisions with terrain features, while executing aggressive, low-altitude maneuvers in the difficult topography. The S-400 is arguably one of the world's most sophisticated and expensive air defense systems, yet it was effectively neutralized by a swarm of relatively inexpensive drones using low-altitude tactics. Does this represent a fundamental shift in aerial warfare, where low-cost, numerous assets can defeat high-cost, high-tech systems? Share your analysis with us. Meanwhile, at 6:10 a.m., the Southern Force, which had originated from the Pava sector, encountered a different type of Russian defensive layer. This group entered a vast, 200-kilometer-long corridor where Russian electronic warfare, EDW units, were actively broadcasting powerful 500-watt jamming signals across all major satellite navigation frequencies, effectively creating a GPS-denied environment. For conventional drones reliant on satellite guidance, such an environment would have resulted in mission failure, causing them to lose their bearings and crash. However, the Skynode S systems on the lead drones in the formation detected the loss of GPS signal and seamlessly transitioned to an alternate navigation mode. Utilizing onboard optical sensors, the AI switched to visual navigation, correlating real-time camera feeds of the terrain below with stored satellite imagery. The system identified the distinctive curves of the M4 highway, using it and adjacent railway lines as navigational waypoints. The remaining 85 drones followed the lead elements in a loose, networked formation, each vehicle's processor performing thousands of calculations per second to maintain course and formation integrity through the electronic wilderness. The Southern Force eventually emerged from the jamming zone, having lost only 8 drones to mechanical failures, likely exacerbated by the rushed launch conditions. This successful transit demonstrated a significant leap in autonomous navigation capabilities under active electronic warfare suppression. The Eastern Force faced a more conventional and kinetic threat. At 6:15 a.m., 4 Sukhoi Su-35 flankery multirole fighters were scrambled from Voronezh Air Base with the specific mission of intercepting the inbound drone wave. Each fighter was armed with a complement of up to 12 R-77-1 medium-range air-to-air missiles, a loadout optimized for engaging multiple air targets. The flight of 4 split into 2 pairs, with the flight leader taking his wingman to patrol the northern sector of the drone's suspected approach vector, while the other 2 swept south. However, the pilots encountered the same problem as the S-400 crews. Their powerful Urbis-E passive electronically scanned array radars designed to track and engage much larger and faster targets, like fighter jets and cruise missiles, struggled to acquire and lock onto the small, slow-moving drones, flying just 200 meters above the sprawling farmland. In an attempt to improve sensor resolution, the lead pilot made the tactical decision to descend to an altitude of 1,000 meters, placing his aircraft within the potential engagement range of Man-Portable Air Defense Systems, MANP-ADS. From this lower altitude, he finally achieved a weapons-grade lock on a cluster of drones, firing a missile and confirming a single kill. The overall effectiveness of the Su-35 interception was minimal, highlighting the inefficiency of using advanced fourth-generation fighters to counter a dispersed, low-altitude swarm. By 8:30 a.m., the surviving elements of the Ukrainian swarm, having bypassed or weathered Russia's layered defenses, began to converge on the operation's primary target, a military-industrial facility identified as the KMDA Antenna Assembly Plant. This facility was protected by a robust point defense network consisting of at least 6 Pantsir S-1 mobile air defense systems. At 8:31 a.m., the battle for the facility began. All 6 Pantsir systems activated their weapon systems, unleashing a barrage from their twin 2A-38M 30mm autocannons. Their initial tactic was to create interlocking fields of fire, a dense wall of tracer rounds and high-explosive shells designed to shred any incoming aerial targets. The first 2 waves of drones, flying in relatively predictable formations, suffered significant losses. However, the swarm's distributed intelligence network was analyzing the defensive fire in real time. The third wave of 50 drones, having processed the data from the preceding waves, altered its approach. Instead of a rigid formation, they advanced as a loose, amorphous cloud, constantly varying their individual speeds and altitudes. This tactic confounded the Pantsir's fire control radars. When cannon fire was concentrated on one group of drones, others would accelerate and push forward. When a Pantsir turret swiveled to engage a new threat, the previously targeted drones would resume their advance. At 8:32 a.m., the Russian defense revealed another layer. A previously hidden 7th Pantsir system, positioned to cover a blind spot, launched a salvo of 6 57E6 surface-to-air missiles at the approaching 4th wave of 51 drones. Ukrainian planners, having anticipated the presence of 5 to 7-point defense systems, had programmed appropriate countermeasures. In response to the missile launch, the targeted drones executed a series of synchronized, pre-programmed evasive maneuvers. These rapid, coordinated changes in vector were sufficient to overwhelm the radar seekers in the missile warheads, which were designed to track the more predictable flight paths of aircraft and conventional missiles. By the end of that minute, an assessment of the engagement showed that the Pantsir missile systems had expended 38 missiles and achieved 31 confirmed kills, representing an 82% success rate per missile fired. While devastating against a conventional air attack, this rate of attrition was insufficient to stop the massive swarm, with 195 drones having survived the missile engagement and now inside the minimum effective range of the Pantsir's missiles. The defenders were forced to rely solely on their 30mm autocannons. A critical limitation of the Pantsir system became apparent. Each unit's fire control system could only track and engage one target at a time with its cannons. With 6 systems actively firing, only 6 drones could be engaged simultaneously. This left the remaining 189 drones flying unopposed towards their targets. At 8:33 a.m., the final phase of the attack demonstrated the core principle of intelligent swarm warfare. The network's distributed intelligence assigned specific targets to small, coordinated groups of 8 to 10 drones. This was not a random bombardment, but a calculated surgical dismantlement of the facility. 15 drones converged on Building 2, the primary KMDA antenna assembly facility, approaching from multiple angles simultaneously to guarantee that even if several were shot down, enough would get through to ensure its destruction. 12 drones were allocated to support facilities and infrastructure in Building 3, while a larger group of 20 drones targeted the main production hall. The Skynote S systems were not only navigating and attacking, but also communicating. Drones that successfully penetrated the defensive perimeter transmitted their flight paths and data on enemy positions back to the rest of the swarm in real time. This information mapped the exact locations of the Pantsir systems, their turret traverse speeds, estimated reload times, and sensor blind spots. Late-arriving drones utilized this live tactical map to navigate through gaps in the collapsing defense, flying curved routes through zones where the Pantsir's fields of fire did not overlap. In the final 60 seconds of the engagement, the point defense network completely failed. Pantsir crews, trained for metered engagements against a handful of targets, were cognitively and mechanically overwhelmed by the chaotic, multi-vector assault. The system's ammunition limitation was the final nail in the coffin. Each of the 2 A38M cannons, 700-round ammunition bins, could sustain only 42 seconds of continuous fire before depletion. As systems began to run dry and crews scrambled to reload, the remaining drones pressed their attack, striking their designated targets with precision and devastating effect. The operation resulted in the severe degradation of the KMDA facility, showcasing the profound strategic threat posed by intelligent, autonomous drone swarms capable of overwhelming even robust, modern air defense networks. The coordinated use of AI, decentralized swarm tactics, and expendable assets seen in this operation may represent a blueprint for future conflicts. What do you think the next leap forward in military drone technology will be? Fully autonomous drone-on-drone dogfights? Ground-based robotic swarms? Let us know your predictions for the future of the battlefield in the final comments.